Welcome to the Totally Honest Cooking Show. I'm Mark. Today we're doing an easy roast chicken. This chicken cost $6.50, making it an ideal cheap meal option. So we're just gonna get our friend out of the bag, set him down. Roasting chickens is one of my favorite easy meals because you don't have to pay a lot of attention to it and it's quite cheap. So we're going to start off by spatchcocking our chicken. That's where we cut out our chicken's spine. And we're finding that this chicken is still frozen, which is not ideal given that we're making it for dinner. But that's fine. We'll make it work. If worst comes to worst, I will just brine it overnight. Give it a little time to sit out tomorrow and order a pizza. But regardless, we are going to spatchcock our chicken. Okay, once the spine is out, I'm putting that in the bag where I keep my chicken spines. Taking a knife, looking for the breastbone. Pulling out our organ meat, which is frozen. Well, I guess that's fine. It's going in the freezer anyway. And cutting the breastbone. Now, ideally, the inside should not be frozen. But sometimes, you know, you're in a hurry. You don't defrost things all the way. It happens. So in instances like this, my advice is always going to be to brine the chicken overnight. Usually, I'd say you can get away with a 2-hour brine or a 1-hour brine and just keep it pushing. But if it's still frozen like that, I don't necessarily want to cook it tonight. The other option is to stick it back in the bag or a bag, run it under a hot tap until the inside is defrosted. But honestly, your chicken can benefit from dry brining overnight. We've patted it dry. Today we're going to do an easy version of the roast chicken. If you've watched all of the videos, you've seen the lemony roast chicken, which I highly recommend, but that's more of a Sunday affair. This is more of a weeknight chicken. So you can get rubs pre-made. Right, this one comes from the people at barbecuepitboys.com because one of my friends who really knows my sensibilities got me this as a birthday gift, and he knows that I really enjoy having the merch from the online shows that I watch. Now, if they were here, they'd give you the directions of make sure that rub goes all over that bird. Oh yeah, or something like that, because that's how they talk. And that's what we're going to do. You don't need that kind though. Any salt heavy rub that you buy at the supermarket will work. Tony Chachere's makes one. Mrs. Dash makes one. There's all kinds of stuff that you can get that fulfills this purpose. This is a basic weeknight sort of maybe lazy Saturday kind of roast chicken that you don't have to pay any attention to. And maybe if you're new to cooking and you're like, I want to roast a chicken, but I fear the chicken. Well, this is what you can do. You can just get a pre-made rub and rub it all over the bird, shove it in the oven. We're going to take the extra step of brining it overnight in the fridge. What that is going to do is break down some of the proteins and make the parts of it that's a little tough, less tough. But the main thing it's going to do is get the salt into the chicken. These rubs are heavy in salt, and while herbs aren't going to penetrate the skin, the salt will penetrate all the way into the meat. Now, the only thing that you have to be careful of is I usually don't use rubs like this. I make my own. I don't know how much salt is in it, and that makes it a little bit easier to over salt. We will use that bacon fat probably when we throw it in the oven tomorrow. Again, we're trying to be kind of quick. Tonight is a long night for me. The other way to do this is to make your own rub. This has salt, sugar, paprika, marjoram, cumin, chili, canola, some spice extracts. So the reason you'd buy something like this is so that you don't have to mix up your own. It also lets you try new flavor profiles if you don't want to make them yourself. I'm just going to stick this boy in the fridge like this, uncovered. And I'll see you tomorrow night when we're going to give her a try. And if I screw this up horribly somehow, you just won't see the footage. Ha! I'm going to start by getting under the skin. I was originally going to put bacon fat over top of it and then coat it with the rub, but I forgot to do that. So what we're going to do instead is put the bacon fat under the skin. And I'm starting just by opening it up. And I'll do the same thing over here on the other side. Honestly, this is probably where I should have started, but it's just, once you get it going, it's open. You have to break the little membrane. If you need a specific picture of what the membrane looks like before you break it, you can check out the video on the lemon chicken, which again is a great recipe. We might also give it another shake of rub if it turns out that we rub it off. But we're just gonna go ahead and rub our bacon fat under the skin, trying to give it an equal application. If you're opposed to bacon, you can use butter for this. I'll rub a little bit around the edges over here. Why not? Go nuts with it, right? I was afraid that rubbing the bacon fat directly on the rub would wipe it off, but it doesn't appear to be the case. From here, I'm going to cut down a couple onions and use them on the pan to sop up the juices. This is for two reasons. One, I have a glut of onions after the potato soup, but also I have a history of, I'm going to lay them against the sheet pan, and then I'll be back in a couple minutes. Okay, now we're done with that. We're going to take this. If it looks sparse in some areas, we might give it a little touch up, right? From here, we're going to stick it into a 450-degree oven for about 45 minutes, or until the breasts read 165 degrees on our thermometer here. And while that's going, I'm going to make some sides. You can make what you want. I'm not doing sides tonight on film because one thing at a time is what I've learned. But I will be back in 45 minutes. I almost forgot, due to some previous incidents, we're going to tent our chicken. The reason that we are tenting our chicken with aluminum foil is to prevent over crisping on the outsides. And Jerkins cut in the picture of the over-crisped chicken. As you can see from the picture my editor Jerkins has inserted, if you put it in on such a high temperature, you risk burning the skin rather than crisping the skin. So we're going to come back about 10 minutes before it finishes, and then we're going to untent it and let it crisp. And the chicken's done and it's time to carve. We can, you know, I overcooked it a little bit in some places, but she looks good, nice and crispy. And we just need to get our knife in there, cut ourselves off the part that we want. I tend to go with dark meat. This could probably sit for another 5 minutes or so. I only let it rest for 5, and you're supposed to let it rest for 10. But one, this show is pretty brazen about how we follow rules. And two, I'm hungry. So I got my picture for the gram, but how does it taste? It's good. Too hot to be consumed still, and that was a mistake, but it's delicious. like, subscribe, click the little bell. Watch me every Wednesday for some easy recipes, some complicated recipes, or whatever the heck I'm trying to make for dinner. Bye.